guys, Greg Summers. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to feature a cab pack today from York Audio. This is his Matchless 212 cab pack, and it's fabulous. You can find these cab packs on the York Audio website. I put the link in the description down below. $19.99. Really, you can't beat that for a cab pack, and there's tons of stuff in here. You can look on my screen here, and you can see I've got H30 mixes, greenback mixes, single mics. So the Matchless DC30 is a 2-channel amp. Channel 1 has a 12AX7. They both have, the power section is EL84s. Channel 1 is 12AX7s. Channel 2 is an EF86. I think it's a single tube. The unique thing about the Matchless DC30 at least is they have two dissimilar Celestion speakers. One is an H30 and the other one is an M25 greenbacks. Putting those two together gives a unique sound. This last preset that I did, I gave you a free preset a couple of videos ago. I used stock cabs in that. This time we're going to use these York Audio cabs. And the cool thing about this cab pack is out of the box, it's real easy to just plug and play. He gives you a bunch of blends. He gives you single mic favorites. So this is available for the Axe-Fx, the Helix, Kemper. So he's got different IRs in there. You'll need to convert them from the WAV format to the SYX format that the Fractal can read. And you can do that by downloading a free utility called Cab Lab. They have a light version. Just download that. At the top of one of the menus, it just says WAV to SYX, and that's what you'll need to do. And then you just add the folder and it converts them all for you. So in this cab pack, they use several different mics. You can use the blends, you can use single mics and blend them on your own, or just have a single mic on both speakers. They use a 57, a 421, a Sennheiser E906, the Royer 121, a 160, and an AKG C414. So if you're familiar with any of those mics, then you can kind of combine what you know that has worked in the studio, and it's a very, very true representation of how these sound. So let's start easy. I've got my Ultra Telecaster here. It does have the noiseless pickups in it. They're a little more tame than normal. If you've got a Tele or something like that with vintage pickups, it's going to have a little more bite, a little more overdrive coming through. But you'll get the idea here of the different sounds. So first I want to go over to what I had before, I think, on this old preset. So if you look on the screen here, I've got not that one. So I had some of the Austin Buddy ones in there, which they sound great. So there's still that bite that we like. Now we're going to jump over to the York Audio, the blend. Now, he doesn't specify what the blend is because that's kind of his thing. So, just take it for what it is and try. We're going to try a bunch of these different mixes. I'm not going to go through a ton of them because really you just need to experiment what works well in the mix. And that's really important, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I know you can get down this rabbit hole of IRs. It's important that you just start simple. It's important that you start with something that you may know. If you don't understand and have never used any of these mics, you're going to have to just use your ear, depending on what you're playing through. Now, sometimes it's really tough when you just play on your own and play through the sounds and then try to figure out what you like. Some are really drastic, and most of the time, like these, a good IR cab pack, it's got slight variances in that EQ. So it's just basically when they're moving it around, they're basically just EQing that same mic, based on the distance and the angle if they're doing off axis, which means, off axis to the cone or wherever they're putting it on the speaker. So it's important that you kind of understand, especially in the Matchless, there's two different speakers. So let's start with the greenback. Greenbacks are fairly mellow. The H30 is going to be a little bit, have more bite to it. So depending on what you want in the mix, just start with one. And then if you want to add the other flavor, just go from there. So I know it may be confusing, but I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to take this, I've got them panned. So let me just take it back up to the center. I'm going to mute this guy. So I'm starting with the greenback here. The numbers do not represent distances for this cab pack. Some people do that where they have a different distance and they do it by number. So let's listen to this. It's going to be bright, so that's going to be what the 57 is. But before you start EQing, just listen to what it sounds like first. That sounds off axis to me. I could be wrong though. So you could hear that that first one was fairly bright, and then it got a little bit darker as you went up in the numbers. But again, you need to play it, with something so you can understand how it's going to fit there, and understand that the greenback is going to be a little bit of a mellower kind of vintagey speaker. Now the 121 is good for balancing out like a really bright speaker. On its own, sometimes you can use it on its own, but here it is on its own. So you can hear it's pretty dark. The greenbacks are already fairly mellow in my opinion. So I think sometimes putting the 121 on the vintage 30 or the H30, if you're using B30 cabinets, try that. It's just my opinion. But there's no set rules. It's just experimentation. So let's just keep it on a single mic. I don't have enough time to go through all the mics. So once we do this, I'm going to go through the blends, which may be the easier way to get started, but I kind of wanted to show you this first. So here's our H30. We're going to run through each setting here. On its own, they sound kind of harsh to me. So you may want to slap a 121, but sometimes, or some other mic, but sometimes that weird frequency that you hear might be just what you need in the mix. So I put this back on a 121, let you hear that it does seem to balance out a bit. So you can pan these if you want, left and right, right and left, whatever you want. The issue comes in, sometimes it can sound awkward in your ears if you're using in-ears. So you need to experiment with that. If you don't like that and you want to just keep them straight up and down and have that in your ears, that's fine too. Or use one of the blends. So I'm going to go over to channel D, which has my blend, and we're going to go through each one of those real quick, and I'll show you what we can do there. Now, I personally believe this is probably a 57 and a 121, but they don't tell you, which is okay. Just take them for what they're worth, and this is probably the fastest way to get up and running is to take these blends and go. Some of you may be going, I don't even hear a difference. And that's important though, because there are slight changes in EQ that I was saying may just work in the mix that you're wanting. So if you're getting buried a little bit in a mix, try experimenting with some of these blends in the beginning, because you can get overwhelmed trying to find your own blend. So I'm going to end this with some single note stuff. Matchless amps, Vox, all those, they love when you dig in. So do me a favor, guys, if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, hit the notification bell so you know when I put out new content, leave me a comment, and you guys have a good week.